Welcome to our study of Ecclesiastes. Remember that this is divine information for divine transformation into the image of Jesus Christ. Ecclesiastes teaches that we are to enjoy life as a gift from the Lord God, but remember to fear and obey Him throughout life. The Hebrew title is Koheleth. Koheleth has been viewed as a name and a title. It is probably a title that should be translated something like the preacher, who addresses the assembly on a subject of truth. The title emphasizes that the preacher has assembled the congregation of Israel to communicate some important truth. The author of Ecclesiastes identifies himself as Koheleth, or the preacher. The Hebrew text, which includes the definite article the, indicates that this is a title rather than a name. The author also identifies himself as the son of David, king in Jerusalem. He also designates himself as king over Israel in Jerusalem. Solomon was the only son of David to reign over all of Israel from Jerusalem. In an autobiographical section, the author states that, "Behold, I have magnified and increased wisdom more than all who are over Jerusalem before me, and my mind has observed a wealth of wisdom and knowledge." The author also had unparalleled wealth and accomplishments. The writing style is similar to many of the Proverbs of Solomon. All of these things point directly to Solomon as the author of Ecclesiastes. Solomon certainly qualified as the author, since he had the most time, talent, and resources to experiment with life in order to draw these final conclusions. The period of Solomon's life of experimentation probably included his entire reign, the 40 years from 971 to 931 BC. Koheleth, or the preacher, gives indications that he is advanced in years at the time of writing. The many references to death and dying indicate that this was written towards the end of Solomon's life. He reminds the younger man to remember his Creator before the trials of old life come on him. Koheleth was probably experiencing the many pains of old age that he writes about in this section. These observations argue that Ecclesiastes was probably written around 935 BC. The first recipients were the Israelites living during the transitional period from the united to the divided monarchies. Solomon's reign had brought great peace and prosperity, but the foundational cracks of idolatry and immorality, corruption and civil war were widening to the point that the nation was ready to split apart into civil war. The social and political conditions were beginning to reflect a breakup in the society, as oppression, injustice, corrupt government, and spiritual apostasy impacted the covenant nation of Israel. The main argument or subject of Ecclesiastes is that Solomon counsels the godly person to enjoy life as a gift from Yahweh in the fear of God, who is good and sovereign, in light of the apparent futility of life's existence. A major purpose was to encourage the person of wisdom to enjoy life to its fullest in view of God's future judgment and the vanity of life apart from God. Some key verses are Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verses 13 and 14. It says, "The conclusion when all has been heard is fear God and keep His commandments," because this applies to every person. "For God will bring every act to judgment, everything which is hidden, whether it is good or evil." There are many themes throughout Ecclesiastes. Some of these themes are all is vanity, things that are done under the sun, striving after the wind, I gave my heart to something, eat, drink, and make your soul enjoy life, fear God, God's judgment, labor, work is endless, wisdom and knowledge, evil, man's duty, wealth, life and death, experimentation, foolish actions. I hate my work in life. the loss of everything at death. There are various times and aspects to life, the sovereignty of God, and the fleeting of riches to another. Ecclesiastes addresses so many experiences and experiments in life that it is difficult to outline with many divisions. Two main headings are: 1, vanity of vanities, striving after the wind is man's way of life, chapters 1 through 6. And then 2, prosperity and success in all of life are found through God's ways, chapters 7 through 12. Some of the subheadings addressed are the following. The worthlessness of life is demonstrated by endless life cycles, man's unsatisfied inquisitiveness, and a lack of anything new, and the oblivion of all things, chapter 1. Great prestige, wisdom, and knowledge bring grief and mental anguish because research is a grievous, afflicting, and futile task that God has given to man. Self-indulgence, prosperity, great projects, and great possessions are meaningless and futile, chapter 2. Wisdom is better than folly, but the wise and foolish have the same fate of death. Therefore, life's accomplishments are futile, meaningless, painful, and grievous, because all these things are left for another. The good man should eat, drink, and enjoy work. Wisdom and knowledge is a gift from God, but the sinner will forfeit all of his possessions. There is an appointed time for all events. God is sovereign over all events. God will judge the wicked and the righteous. Rest is better than meaninglessness, envious labor, or foolish idleness. Endless labor is grievous and meaningless. A wise youth is better than a foolish king. Don't be surprised by corrupt officials. Wealth is unsatisfying. Riches, labor, and words are a severe affliction. Wisdom brings strength and enlightenment, even though men are sinners. Mankind should wisely enjoy all of life approved by God. It is an evil error when fools are set in places of authority. Pursue diversification in business ventures for future profits in spite of the unpredictability of life. The preacher imparting upright and true knowledge, and the conclusion that fearing God and keeping His commandments is of most importance because we will be judged by God in the future. How should we read Ecclesiastes? Imagine that you are a young person who has all of your life ahead of you. You have dreams and goals for life that you hope to accomplish. You have watched others go before you and observed the heartaches and problems that life can bring. There is uncertainty about the future because your nation has forsaken the foundation of trust in the covenant work of the Mosaic Law. You want to eat and drink and enjoy life as the Lord intended it. You want to read and learn from the pitfalls of Solomon, the wisest, but not necessarily the most spiritual man in the kingdom. Your soul is tempted by the desires to experience things in life, but your mind must rule and provide godly direction. Read so that you might live life in light of eternity. Pursue the joys of life, but remember that God will hold you accountable for all that you do.